I never thought I'd be that girl who ruined a good thing over some stupid feelings, but here I am, sitting in my car outside my apartment. I scared to go inside because I don't know if I can look my husband in the eye anymore. I'm Alara, 31, from Colorado, and I'm about to tell you how I messed up the most stable relationship I've ever had because I couldn't get my act together. I met Caleb 3 years ago at a friend's housewarming party. He wasn't like the guys I usually went for, no flashy car or designer clothes, just a genuine smile and the kind of quiet confidence that comes from actually having your life together. We got married last year, and honestly, things were good. Not perfect, but good. Caleb's an accountant, which tells you everything you need to know about him. Reliable, practical, and about as exciting as watching paint dry sometimes. Don't get me wrong, he's a great guy. He takes care of our bills, remembers my mom's birthday, and never complains when I spend way too much on my skincare routine. But lately, it's like we're just going through the motions. Netflix and takeout on Fridays, grocery shopping on Saturdays, meal prep on Sundays. Rinse and repeat. I kept telling myself this is what growing up looks like, but part of me missed feeling butterflies, you know? Then Damien started at my marketing firm 2 months ago, and everything went sideways. First day, he walks in wearing this perfectly fitted suit, smelling like he just stepped out of a magazine ad, and I swear my heart stopped for a second. It wasn't just that he was hot. Although yeah, he definitely was. It was the way he carried himself, like he knew exactly how good he looked but was too busy being successful to care. At first, I told myself I was just being friendly when I offered to help him learn the ropes. Caleb was working late hours anyway, trying to make partner at his firm. Damien and I started grabbing coffee together during breaks, and he actually listened when I talked about my dreams of opening my own agency someday. Not like Caleb, who just reminded me about our mortgage and being practical. The real trouble started during this big project we had to work on together. Late nights at the office turned into dinner orders, turned into drinks at this little bar around the corner. Damien would say things like, "A woman like you deserves to feel excited about life," and "It's crazy how someone so beautiful could be so down to earth." I knew he was flirting, but I didn't stop him. I liked feeling desirable again. Caleb started noticing something was off. He'd ask about my days, and I'd give these vague answers, feeling guilty but not guilty enough to stop. One night, he tried to plan this cute date night, but I made up an excuse about a work deadline because Damien had invited me to this new rooftop bar. The look on Caleb's face, I still see it sometimes when I close my eyes. Things with Damien kept escalating. Innocent touches turned into lingering hugs. He'd text me late at night, and I'd respond even though I knew I shouldn't. Meanwhile, Caleb was being Caleb, making sure our retirement accounts were in order, planning for our future, being the same dependable guy I fell in love with. But suddenly, that wasn't enough anymore. Last week, Damien kissed me in the parking garage after work. I didn't push him away. I kissed him back, and it felt like every romantic movie moment rolled into one. But then I got home, and Caleb had cooked my favorite dinner because he thought I seemed stressed lately. I barely slept that night or any night since. Now I'm stuck in this mess I created. Every time Damien looks at me at work, I feel this rush of excitement mixed with guilt. Every time Caleb kisses me goodbye in the morning, I feel like the worst person alive. Damien keeps saying we could be amazing together, that life's too short to settle. Caleb doesn't have a clue, but he knows something's wrong. He's been trying harder lately, which just makes me feel worse. I scroll through our wedding photos sometimes, trying to remember why everything felt so right back then. Caleb's not boring, he's stable. He's not unambitious, he's smart with our future. I know this in my head, but then Damien sends me a text about how he can't stop thinking about me, and all that logic goes out the window. What kind of person does this make me? I've got this amazing husband at home who would do anything for me, and I'm throwing it all away for some guy who makes my heart race. Damien's probably just another player, but the way he looks at me, it makes me feel alive in a way I haven't felt in so long. I keep telling myself, I'll end it tomorrow, that I'll focus on my marriage. But then tomorrow comes, and I'm right back in this same spiral. The worst part? Deep down, I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm risking everything solid in my life for something that probably won't last past the honeymoon phase, but knowing that doesn't make the feeling go away. It doesn't stop me from checking my phone every 5 minutes, hoping Damien texted. It doesn't make me any more excited about movie nights with Caleb, so yeah, that's where I'm at. Sitting in my car, staring at my front door, trying to decide if I should go inside and try to fix my marriage or drive to Damien's place and blow up my entire life. Pretty pathetic, right? But I can't be the only one who's ever felt like this. Like you're standing on the edge of something, knowing you should step back but wondering what would happen if you just jumped. I ended up going inside that night. Caleb was asleep on the couch, some home renovation show playing in the background. He had this little post-it note on the coffee table that said, "Dinner in the microwave. Love you." My stomach felt like it was tied in knots. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't do anything except think about how I was ruining everything. The next morning at work, Damien was waiting by my desk with coffee just how I like it, with vanilla creamer and way too much sugar. Caleb always forgets the vanilla part. We had this big presentation coming up, which meant more late nights working. Every time Damien's hand brushed mine while we were looking at the same computer screen, I felt like I was in high school again. Stupid, right? Like some teenager with a crush instead of a married woman with a mortgage. That's when things started getting messy. Damien invited me to this marketing conference in Denver. Just a 2-day thing, but obviously, overnight. I told Caleb it was women only, some leadership development thing. He was so supportive, even helped me pack. I felt sick watching him fold my clothes, asking if I needed him to drop me at the airport. I told him I'd just Uber. I couldn't handle the guilt of him driving me to meet another man. The conference was real. At least I didn't lie about that part. But while other people were networking and attending seminars, Damien and I were barely leaving the hotel room. It felt like being in a bubble where real life couldn't touch us. No responsibilities, no guilt, just room service and those little butterflies in my stomach every time he looked at me. But reality hit hard when I got home. Caleb had cleaned the entire house and meal prepped for my week ahead because he knew I'd be tired from the conference. He was excited to hear about everything I'd learned. I made up some stuff about personal branding and leadership strategies, hating myself with every word. That's when Damien started getting pushier. He wanted me to leave Caleb, said we could build an amazing life together. He started talking about this job opportunity in Seattle, said he could get me in too. We could start fresh, where nobody knew us. It sounded so tempting. Seattle's marketing scene is huge, and starting over somewhere new, part of me wanted to just pack my bags and go. But then I'd look at Caleb, really look at him. The way his eyes crinkle when he laughs at those stupid dad jokes he loves, how he always makes sure my car has enough gas because I hate stopping at gas stations, the little notes he leaves in my lunch even though we've been together for years. He's not perfect. Sometimes he works too much, gets lost in his spreadsheets, forgets to plan date nights. But he loves me. Really, truly loves me. Last night, things came to a head. Damien texted me after work, said he needed an answer about Seattle, said he was tired of sharing me, tired of sneaking around. Caleb was planning this whole weekend getaway for our anniversary next month. He'd left the confirmation email up on our shared laptop. 3 years of marriage and he still puts in this effort while I'm throwing it all away. I'm supposed to meet Damien for coffee in an hour to give him my answer. Caleb thinks I'm getting my nails done. Another lie in the endless string of lies I've been telling. I keep staring at my wedding ring, twisting it around my finger. It feels heavier lately, like it knows what I'm doing. The thing is, I know exactly what kind of person Damien is. He's the kind of guy I would have fallen for in my 22nds. All charm and big dreams and expensive cologne. The kind that makes you feel special until you realize he makes everyone feel special. But knowing that doesn't change how alive I feel when I'm with him, doesn't make me want him any less. I went to meet Damien at this little coffee shop downtown. Neutral territory, I guess. He was already there when I walked in, looking like something out of a magazine in his designer suit. Before I could even sit down, he started talking about Seattle, showing me apartment listings on his phone, talking about this amazing marketing firm he'd been in touch with. It all sounded perfect. Too perfect. That's when I noticed something off. A notification popped up on his phone, a message from someone named Isla with a heart emoji. He tried to swipe it away quickly, but I caught it. When I asked him about it, he got all defensive, said it was his sister. But I've seen his sister's contact photo before. This wasn't it. The whole perfect fantasy started crumbling right there. I excused myself to the bathroom and did something I'm not proud of. I looked Damien up on Facebook through a mutual friend's profile. Turns out Isla is his girlfriend of 2 years who lives in Phoenix. They're doing long distance while he's here for this temporary assignment. Everything started making sense. Why he always had excuses about weekends. Why he never wanted to go anywhere public in town. I walked back to our table feeling like the biggest idiot in Colorado. Here I was, ready to blow up my marriage for someone who was playing the exact same game with multiple women. But instead of confronting him, I just sat there, nodding along as he talked about our future together. Why? Because admitting I'd been played meant admitting I'd risked everything for nothing. The worst part came later that night. Caleb had planned this surprise dinner. Nothing fancy, just takeout from the place where we had our first date. He'd remembered. Between bites of pasta, he started talking about trying for a baby, how he'd been putting in extra hours at work so we could start saving. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there with another man's messages burning a hole in my phone. That night, I couldn't sleep again. I started going through Caleb's phone, not because I suspected anything, but because I wanted to find something, anything that would justify what I'd done. But all I found were searches for romantic anniversary ideas and a reminder to pick up my favorite ice cream. It made me feel even worse. The next day at work was a nightmare. Now that I knew about Isla, I started noticing things. The way Damien flirted with the new intern when he thought I wasn't looking, how he mentioned other opportunities to at least 2 other women in different departments. I'd thrown away my stability for someone who collected hearts like trading cards. But here's the really messed up part. Even knowing all this, I still felt something when he'd brush past my desk or send me those late-night texts. It's like my brain and my heart weren't on speaking terms anymore. Caleb was everything I should want, but Damien was everything I couldn't stop wanting. Everything came to a head when Isla decided to surprise Damien with a visit. I walked into the office Monday morning, and there she was. Gorgeous, successful looking, wearing an engagement ring I hadn't known existed. Damien looked like he'd seen a ghost. I locked myself in the back bathroom and had what felt like the longest panic attack of my life. That's when Phoebe from accounting came in. She took one look at me and said, "He did the same thing to me last year." Turns out I wasn't even the first person in our office Damien had played. Phoebe told me about 3 other women she knew of, all thinking they were special, all ready to change their lives for him. The worst part? Isla had no idea. I left work early that day, told my boss I had food poisoning. I couldn't handle watching Damien play happy couple with Isla, couldn't deal with the pitying looks from Phoebe and probably half the office by now. I drove around for hours, ending up at this dive bar where Caleb and I had our first date. The bartender even recognized me. Talk about a punch to the gut. That's when everything really started falling apart. I was 3 drinks in when Caleb called. He was worried. My boss had called him when I left early, standard protocol for sudden departures. I told him I was fine, just grabbing drinks with work friends. Another lie. He offered to pick me up, sweet as always. I said no, probably too quickly. But Caleb, being Caleb, showed up anyway. Said he traced my phone because he was worried. I'd been acting so strange lately. He walked in right as I was deleting messages from Damien. The look on his face. It wasn't even anger, just this deep, crushing disappointment. He sat down next to me, ordered a beer, and asked one question. How long? I could have lied again. Could have deleted everything and gaslit him into thinking he was paranoid. But sitting there, looking at the man who'd loved me faithfully for 3 years, I couldn't do it anymore. I told him everything. About Damien, about the conference, about Seattle, about Isla. With each word, I watched him get quieter, his knuckles turning white around his beer bottle. When I finished, he just nodded, pulled out his wallet, paid my tab, and said, "I'll sleep at my brother's tonight. Figure out what you want, Alara." Then he walked out. No screaming, no scene. Just gone. That's when I realized I'd been so worried about choosing between them, and in the end, I might lose both. The next day at work was brutal. Isla was still there, still playing the happy fiancé. Damien wouldn't even look at me. During lunch, Isla cornered me in the break room, all smiles, asking about my wedding ring, saying how lucky we both were to have found such amazing guys. I barely made it to the bathroom before throwing up. By the end of the day, my personal life wasn't just unraveling, it was completely shredded. Someone, probably Phoebe, had told Isla everything. The office exploded with drama. Isla confronted Damien right in the middle of a team meeting. Turns out I wasn't the only one he was stringing along in the office, and Isla wasn't the only one he was engaged to. I went home to an empty apartment. Caleb hadn't come back, wouldn't answer my calls. I found his wedding ring on the kitchen counter with a note. I deserved better than this. So did you. That's when it really hit me. I'd blown up my life for someone who saw me as just another conquest, and in the process, I'd lost the one person who actually loved me for me. Damien quit the next day. Didn't even clear out his desk, just sent an email to HR and disappeared. Apparently, this wasn't his first time pulling this stunt. He had a pattern of moving from city to city, company to company, leaving a trail of broken hearts and ruined relationships, and I'd fallen for it completely. The next few weeks were a blur of humiliation and regret. Everyone at work knew. The whispers would stop when I walked into a room but start up again the moment I left. HR called me in for a meeting about professional conduct in the workplace. I ended up taking a week of personal leave just to escape the looks of pity and judgment. Caleb still wouldn't talk to me directly. Everything went through his brother or his lawyer. He'd moved most of his stuff out while I was at work one day, just left his key and some divorce papers on the kitchen counter. The note attached said he'd take care of all the fees. Typical Caleb, still taking care of things even while leaving me. The worst part wasn't losing Damien. Honestly, that hurt my pride more than my heart. The worst part was going through my phone one night and finding this video from last Christmas. Caleb and I were making cookies, and I'd gotten flour all over both of us. He was laughing, trying to wipe it off my nose, looking at me like I was his whole world. I watched that video probably 100 times, wondering how I could have thrown away something so real for something so fake. I tried everything to get Caleb back. Sent him long emails explaining myself, begged his brother to talk to him, even showed up at his office once. Security had to escort me out. That's when his lawyer called and said if I didn't stop, they'd file for a restraining order. Me, needing a restraining order from the man who used to hold me every night. How messed up is that? Damien, meanwhile, was living his best life in Seattle. Yes, Seattle, where he'd promised to take me. His LinkedIn showed he'd already started at some fancy firm there. New city, new victims, probably. Isla had posted this long, vague Facebook status about trusting your gut and dodging bullets. At least she got out before saying I do. Work became unbearable. I'd been passed over for a promotion I'd been promised. They said my recent personal issues made me a liability. My work friends stopped inviting me to lunch. Even Phoebe, who'd been through the same thing, kept her distance. Can't blame them, really. Who wants to be associated with the office homewrecker? One night, after too much wine, I drove past our old house. Caleb's car was in the driveway, and there was this other car I didn't recognize. Through the window, I could see him in the kitchen with some woman. They were cooking together, just like we used to. He looked happy. Really happy. I sat in my car and cried for an hour. The thing that kills me is, everyone acts like I should have known better, like I should have been smarter, stronger, more loyal. And, yeah, maybe they're right. But until you've been there, until you've felt that rush of excitement, that thrill of being wanted in a way you haven't felt in years, you don't know what you'd do. I'm not saying it's right. I know I messed up. I know I hurt the one person who truly loved me. But sometimes I wonder, if Damien hadn't turned out to be such a player, if he'd actually meant all those things he said, would I regret it? If he'd chosen me instead of running away, would I still feel this guilty? Caleb's lawyer says the divorce will be final next month. 3 years of marriage ended in a stack of papers because I couldn't appreciate what I had, because I had to chase some fantasy that turned out to be nothing but smoke and mirrors. Damien's probably already found his next target, and Caleb's building a new life without me. So here I am, starting over at 31, living in this sad little studio apartment because I can't afford anything better on my own, scrolling through dating apps but too scared to actually meet anyone, wondering if every guy I meet is going to be another Damien or if I'll ever find another Caleb. Not that I deserve one. The divorce was finalized last week. Caleb didn't even show up to the courthouse. His lawyer handled everything. I sat there in my best dress, the one he always said made my eyes look pretty. watching as 3 years of marriage got erased in less than 20 minutes. The judge didn't even look up from her papers. Just another Tuesday for her. Just another failed marriage to process. I got curious last night and looked up Damien on social media. Bad idea. He's already engaged again, some gorgeous marketing executive in Seattle. Her profile is full of pictures of them hiking, traveling, looking perfect together. Just like his profile with Isla, just like it probably was with all the others. The sad part? Even knowing everything I know now, seeing those pictures still stung. My mom keeps telling me this is all part of growing up, learning from your mistakes, finding yourself, whatever. Easy for her to say. She didn't have to pick up extra freelance work just to afford her half of the divorce payments after Caleb stopped covering them. Didn't have to watch her entire friend group slowly drift away, because nobody wants to pick sides, but everyone already has. The new girl Caleb's dating, her name's Rachel. Found that out from his sister's Instagram, the same sister who used to call me for advice about boys and now won't even accept my follow request. Rachel looks sweet, normal, trustworthy, everything I used to be, I guess. They went to Hawaii last month, the same trip Caleb and I had been saving up for. Funny how life works out. I tried therapy for a while. The therapist kept talking about taking accountability and recognizing patterns. But here's the thing. I know what I did was wrong. I know I hurt people. I know I destroyed something good for something fake. But knowing all that doesn't change how trapped I felt in my marriage, how alive Damien made me feel, even if it was all just a game to him. The worst moments are the quiet ones, like when I'm grocery shopping and automatically reach for Caleb's favorite cereal, or when I'm watching TV and want to tell him about something funny that happened at work, or when I get a raise or accomplish something and for a split second I forget that he's not the person I call anymore. He's not my person at all. Everyone says I should have fought harder for my marriage, that if I really loved Caleb, I wouldn't have looked twice at Damien. Maybe they're right. But maybe love isn't that simple. Maybe you can love someone with all your heart and still want something more. Maybe you can make horrible mistakes and still not be a horrible person. Last week, I ran into Phoebe from accounting again, of all places, at a divorce support group. She's doing better now, dating some guy who knows her whole story and loves her anyway. She said something that stuck with me. The worst part isn't losing the guy who played you. It's losing the person you were before him. I get that now. I didn't just lose Caleb and Damien, I lost myself. Lost the person who used to pride herself on being honest, loyal, good. Now I'm the cautionary tale, the whispered gossip, the example of what not to do. And sure, maybe I deserve that. Maybe this is my karma, or whatever. Sometimes I think about writing to Caleb, telling him everything I've learned, how sorry I am, how much I've grown. But that would be selfish, wouldn't it? He's happy now. He's moved on. Writing to him would just be about making myself feel better, and haven't I been selfish enough? So this is my life now. Working a job I can barely stand, living in an apartment that never quite feels like home, dating guys I never quite trust, or, worse, guys I don't trust myself with. Everyone says time heals all wounds, but they don't tell you about the scars. They don't tell you how long you carry the weight of your mistakes, how many times you relive every bad decision in the middle of the night. But you know what's really messed up? Some tiny part of me still wonders what would have happened if Damien had been real. If all those promises and plans had been true, if he'd actually loved me the way he said he did, would it have been worth it then? Would I still feel this guilty if my happy ending had just been with someone else? I guess I'll never know. All I know is that I'm that girl now, the one who threw away a good man for a fantasy, the one who learned the hard way that excitement without trust is just another word for disaster, the one who has to live with her choices, even when those choices keep her up at night. Maybe someday I'll figure out how to forgive myself. Maybe someday Caleb will too, though I'm not holding my breath. For now, I'm just trying to get through each day, trying to rebuild something from the mess I made. It's not much of a happy ending, but then again, I guess I gave up my right to one of those when I chose the wrong guy for all the wrong reasons.